So this is the story of when I met Cassie. It was the last weekend in August. That's last Sunday, 2014, and our church had this outreach event, where we had a whole huge carnival, and we had and the main focus was bringing other people in. Well, that Sunday, I somehow or another was in charge of teaching the Bible story to the K through third graders, while also being in charge of the middle schoolers outside. And so there's one point where I got stuck between having to figure out how to do both. And so I turned to my friend who was a childcare worker, and I said, hey, do you mind teaching the story on Jonah and the whale? I'll give you everything. There's a script, the curriculum we have kind of already lays it all out. It's pretty easy. I think you can do this. And she was like, no. I was like, okay, well, so how about you? And standing behind her was a girl, I didn't know. I didn't know her name, but I knew she was a childcare worker. So I was like, hey, do you mind doing this for me while I'm out? And she said yes. So I hooked her up to a mic, and I was like, I know it's gonna seem silly, but I need you to make some whale noises like Dory, and just like make a silly thing about how this betta fish is the whale's ancestor that swallowed Jonah, and just play it off and whatnot, and just kind of teach the story. And I left, trusted her with the curriculum. The leaders were like, wow, she does such a great job. Honestly, man, you need to get her in the rotation. I think, she's kind of gifted in just creatively teaching these younger kids. And so I said, okay, great. I'll go and chat with her. So I got her information and said, hey, can we get coffee so I can just kind of walk you through possibly having you on our team? And as I sat across from her talking about the curriculum and the things to be weary of and the most important parts and what does it look like on Sunday to teach and all this other stuff, I just found myself thinking more and more, I don't honestly want you to teach, I just want you to go on a date with me later. That's all I could think of. She was beautiful, she was smart, and honestly, you could tell that she had this just personality of she was just so confident in herself that she didn't care what other people thought. She was who she was, and that's who you had to love, and she wasn't trying to be anyone else. And I think because I spend most of my time, I'll be honest, I spend most of my time worrying about how other people view me. It was refreshing to sit across from just a woman who was just like, I don't really care what you think about me, just being confident in that and not trying to be like, oh yeah, I'll say what you want me to say or you want to hear. She was just honest about everything, and I was like, man, I just want to get to know you more. And so that's what started it.
This is the story of how I met Kaeo.
Oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Okay, this is the real story. Well, I don't know what Kaeo's told you so far, but he's lied because we met several times. He introduced himself to me several times. I was still at OU. He was working at a church. And his personality, he's just very outgoing and says hi to everybody, including me, several times. So I knew him, I knew his name, I knew he worked for the church. I thought we were acquaintances, but I guess not. One summer of 2015, I was working childcare for the church. And I was doing VBS, the Bible school camp, just leading kids. I had a group of kids, and I was also partnered up with one of his very good friends, who was also working childcare. And then the three of us, Kaeo, his good friend, and I, had a very in-depth conversation because he was also working at VBS, running things. So we were just talking with him, for a while. for 3 consecutive days, and he also doesn't remember that. So, good times. But the story of quote-unquote how we met, which is really the story of when he actually remembered me, is that I was, of course, working childcare. He was on staff at the church, and part of his job was to oversee some of the kids' services, and I was doing childcare for the elementary school kids. And so part of that was they'd have a Bible lesson, and they'd sit in an auditorium and listen to a Bible lesson, and you have to teach it creatively. So one weekend our church had this big outreach event, so he was in charge of overseeing the Bible story, but he also had to do some stuff outside. So that left him unable to teach the Bible story to this auditorium full of like 300 kids almost. So he turns to the childcare workers, that friend, again, his good friend. He asked her first, and she said she couldn't do it. She didn't want to do it. So then he turned to me, and I said, okay, I'll teach the Bible story to these kids. What do you want me to do? So he hooks me up to a microphone, because it's in an auditorium to, quite a few kids. He hooks me up to a microphone, gets me on stage, and then he hands me this betta fish and a cup and says, we're doing the story of Jonah and the whale, and you have to tell them that this is the whale's ancestor, and I want you to speak to this betta fish like Dory does and make whale noises. So that's basically how we met. He hooks me up to a mic, leaves me on stage with a betta fish, and says, make whale noises to an auditorium with 300 kids. And I guess that was finally memorable enough for him to be like, oh, I have met you before. So that's that.
And anyways, that's our story. And she now is a blogger, a travel blogger, and honestly, she works 12 jobs, and she helps this family keep going, and I'm thankful for her, and I'm thankful for how she pushes me and how she helps me remember the little things and keeps me grounded, and just encourages me to be all that I'm supposed to be and all that I am, and I'm thankful for her. Best thing ever happened. I'm glad she said yes that day. I'm glad she said yes over and over, and I'm glad that she still says yes every single day to me and to what God has for us. And so, world, this is my wife. Her name's Cassie, and I'm in love with her more than you know, more than I probably share. And I'm sure you can get it from all my Instagram pictures, but it goes more than that. I love who she is and what's behind the pictures and the stories we have together and the adventures we share. And it's not just that too, it's just that confidence that she has in who she is, and her strength that she has, and her beauty and brilliancy, and how she always cares for people the way she does, and always remembers their birthdays and anniversaries, and is always the one that's like, hey, remember, we need to call them, or hey, don't forget about that card, I have it, just sign it, and I'm a better person because of her, and honestly, this world's a better place because of her. So that's our story, and yeah.